Welcome everyone to the 186th weekly MLP live stream. Like MLP
Woo!
critique to drawing school thingy. Those things. That thing.
With the art? Is there art?
There's art.
There better be
Well,
art.
maybe.
We draw the M and the L and the P's.
Yeah.
I'm here for the art.
Here for the art. Stay for the band.
Sure.
Yeah. We got the ever lovely Ellie Claw joining us today.
Hello.
And the fluffy creation stuck in the corner, just fluffing eternally. Princess Fluffy's
Hello.
And of course, the ever gracious host, Living Dead.
Sup.
Just wearing glasses, all cool.
Sus.
Yeah.
Cookies and punch by the door.
Oh no. Alright, we got a pretty good lineup of art to critique today. As a
Beautiful
reminder,
art.
if anyone has any art they'd like critiqued, please submit it to us. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. And remember, critique art on our subreddit. You know, because especially if you're submitting it, critique other people's art. Because you're sitting there going, why aren't I getting any critiques? Everyone else is asking that too. And you could nullify this by just critiquing everything. Everything.
One critique begets another.
Plus, as a bonus, when you critique others, you're actually helping yourself.
What? How does that happen, Allie?
It can't be a
Because
win-win.
It's you learn to see things that you wouldn't normally see. It's like a fresh perspective. You look at your piece so long,
my
you don't know how to
God.
critique it all the time, but you look at someone else's piece that you've never seen before, and stuff sticks out to you, and then you're like, "Oh, your leg's weird," and then you go back to your piece, it's like, "Oh, my piece's leg's weird too, because I noticed in this one and that one,"
Yeah.
and it's like, gross.
What?
We get better as we learn about drawing and as we train our analytical eye. So the faster you train your eye, the faster you'll learn to draw.
It's fancy. Art's fancy.
Fancy fence.
Fancy. Alright, so the first one up is Razlad. Because, you know, they're here. We definitely give preferential treatment.
Down here on the bottom left.
And, hold on.
Hold
There's a
the,
thing.
all the phones.
There's a thing for people to do.
A thing.
You know what this thing is?
It's a drawing thing.
It's a dry thing. It's an eggy thing.
A draw you eggy thing?
I'm tempted to add here in the art. You know what? We add here enough in the art channel. I think I'm allowed to do it. Yeah. I'm a mod. I can do stuff.
Abusing that
won't.
server owner status. You're literally allowed to do anything.
Yo, you.
Now let's just pray we don't get an onslaught of people like, who pinged me? Who pinged me?
Well, they
I
would get
don't-"
enough of it from the art channel anyway, so.
True.
With the draw part. Wait, the draw alongs. We need to be doing more. I just realized I haven't participated in a draw along or saw a draw along in ages. This needs to change. And again, I've not been on the drawing train until like yesterday, so.
No one's.
Whoa, who pinged me?
What? Some
Pinged me.
How,
Some monster.
I thought it was like a personal ping.
I only see 1/3 of the eggy. Why do I only see 1/3 of the eggy?
Wait. Let me pull it up.
1/3. I see the whole, or I just see the title.
Apparently,
see
there's
siblings.
themed siblings. All I see is them.
Them. You're all them.
Draw them.
I'm gonna refresh that page.
Poor
Yeah.
Zom. His megabytes are struggling.
Yeah, I still only have them.
By the megaduels.
Megadoos.
I'm gonna assume everyone else can see the rest of that.
Yeah.
Yes. That's so weird because I can see someone writing ping on this, like the recording, but I don't. You still don't have. That's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening.
And it's strange.
It is. It is so strange.
we're just gonna
Anyway.
assume magical things are gonna happen on that one.
Yeah. Internet magic beside, we have art to look at.
So Rez, you got any questions in particular on this one? On the picture that is labeled, he taps that butt like bongos.
Bungle bungle.
What is going on with our lives?
We are critiquing tapping that flank.
I'm a cat and I play the bongos,
Do we know
dance
what's
all,
going
dance all
on?
night.
It appears that there is a horse playing the bongos on someone's flank.
And making
And
like a really derpy, like I didn't listen face.
and we got the okay hand because someone's saying like, "Oh yeah, that's some good shit."
This other
He
one doesn't look. She looks like she's trying to endure it, but isn't really into it.
Is that one of your questions? Did you not? Were you not sure if you got across what you wanted to?
Uh, where
I
is
I hope you knew what you're. That wasn't the question.
No, what I mean is like, were you not sure that other people would understand? Like, were you worried that someone wouldn't get? Okay, so something I can give that I will say we did know purely because your title told us to. But something you could do is have a little bit more action with the bongo playing, like maybe
Yeah.
having one hoof raised up, like ready to come back down again, or like instead of because right now they both kind of look like they're resting on the butt.
yeah? I was just gonna say the same thing, and then Allie goes right ahead with it because she's great. So like, you wanna have like, ooh yeah, doing that, and you have like the sort of like action lines. I don't know. Doing that bongo playing.
Yeah. And I do see the action lines. I do see them, but something about action in drawings. See, drawings are still. They're not moving. Unlike animation where you can see something move. In drawing, sometimes when you have these really cartoony fun horses, you want to exaggerate those movements. You
Yeah.
want to really push it and give it that feeling of like, oh, he is about to go bongo down on that booty.
Because at the moment, like, firstly that both hooves are in tandem with each other, parallel to each other, and the action lines are sort of going the same way, sort of implies that like they're both like just lifting up now. If you even see them that way at all, um, it sort of just looks like the hooves are just like resting down. So yeah, I definitely think like having one raised up, something like that, might help imply that a bit better.
Oh yeah.
So just because I'm not sure how I'm interpreting it. What is the expression that this, the pony being bongoed, isn't it to be be protruding? Explain their feelings to us.
1,000. Yeah, right now I see 1,000-yard stare. Like they're trying
Yeah,
to keep
but
the
like they're
straight out.
biting their lips, so like they're like enjoy. I thought that there's like a where's my pen? There it is. I thought this was like a tear. There's like some tears going down the face, but that's just like a mix of the shading and the mane. I think. I think this is
Mhm.
the mane coming in like this. Right. I thought they were like crying like Ghibli tears.
Mhm. So they said the legs seemed weird and they're not sure how to fix that. And her expression's like, "What the fuck?" Sorry, I used our one F word for the stream. Now YouTube is gonna get
I
us if we don't.
So I think it would be better portrayed if she was looking at him for that sort of expression, to sort of direct it back to him, because well, he's the one doing it.
Mm-hmm. And like when I don't know about you, but when I think of like what the fuck, I think of an annoyed expression.
Mm-hmm.
So something with like not necessarily biting the lip, but like one of those mouths that literally could be if I did like a stick figure face. It's like straight and just like they're looking to the side, like what the fuck.
Gotta exaggerate these expressions, And it definitely helps looking up online like expression sheets. You can even look for like specific like confused expression, flustered expression, like whatever you might be trying to portray in the picture, and you can find all kinds of things from like cartoon or from anime, and all sorts of different styles of people drawing characters in those styles, or just like screenshots from actual things where like actual cartoonists have have worked that out themselves, or people like doing the faces like IRL, like just like photos of people making that expression, and you can find whatever sort of reference works for you, you know. But it's definitely a good thing to do. I've done that all the time. Search up expressions just because you think like, oh yeah, I can like do this expression, sure, but to actually figure out how to exaggerate, bend, and stretch everything is a bit more difficult.
You could also do stuff to like push the ears down in annoyance, because usually like when ears are down, it's not like a happy thing for animals.
I think I would also, because you've incorporated eyebrows, let's abuse them and use them.
Yes.
One popped up, one down angry. Yeah, just like
Sorry, I
Allie's
don't
done.
care.
But
Yeah, mine was sort of like a really like concerned look. So there's different ways you can take expression. There's all sorts of like you can change one thing like an eyebrow, and suddenly it's completely different. Um, so don't feel like you have to stick to one thing. You can like this is why I love expressions, because you can just like I keep thinking that's to erase. Used to cut through. You can just like change one thing and be like, ooh, that's like even just like changing the eyebrow slightly. It's changing the expression. What is this magic? Magic of expressions.
magic
Expressions are so
expression.
sensitive just because humans themselves
Yeah,
are very sensitive to expression.
and ponies are like twice as expressive as humans with all their giant stretchy bendy eyes and like flexible irises that like grow and shrink really rapidly, and their ears. Like, we can't move our ears. Ponies got them floppy ears that like the direction, the tilt, the weight, the speed they shift between movements at, everything with their ears. You could just like read each other's minds. That's my hypothesis, that ponies can just like have such incredible non-verbal communication just from facial and body language that they can just like practically read each other's minds.
So going back to what they said about their legs being weird, I will say it does feel a little weird. You have some really nice depth to them. You've outlined them, and I feel like I can see their depth, which is great. But I feel like the body is it's a little too twisted around. Like I almost don't want her butt going into his lap. I almost want him to be behind her. So it would be, if I could draw the body as squares. Yeah, cubes. The 3D thing. Cubes. So right now, the cube of her butt to me looks like this. Like it's going into him, while the chest is trying to be like this. So it feels like there's a really big stretch in the stomach area. We're kind of like splitting her
Yeah.
in half. So I would try to. You can totally bend the bodies. Like pony bodies can be bent like crazy. Look at Pinkie Pie. But for the sake of just making the legs feel a little bit better, let me just erase these cubes again. If I were to do something more along the lines. The box is more intact. Now, I like using circles for sure, but I just feel like boxes help demonstrate like the direction of where it would be. And then the dude can be back here. He's like, there's his body. And he's like, oh yeah, bongo time. I want to bongo those booties.
Every
And
time it's
then,
said.
listen, bongo booties. We get free reign of saying that today. We gotta take advantage. And as for legs, get some references. Get those references, because this is a really hard angle with weird bends, and like you picked a challenging one. And the best thing I can say is like I could sit here and draw over it and redline it for you, but get references. It doesn't have to be exact, not at all. But
Mm.
it will really help to see what you're drawing. We're meant to see, and our mind thinks it knows what it is, but our mind doesn't actually know.
I struggle with legs a lot, and the only thing that helps the most is just looking at pictures where other people have drawn stuff, and be like, hey, I like these legs from this angle, and then when I need it, it's there, and then I can just be like, boom, here's a leg to copy from.
You got any further questions for us there, Razlad? Is the rest all right? Yeah.
It's quite silly.
Yeah. Silly stamped TM.
Where is my reference of these characters?
See, I'm being bad. I'm not even using a reference right now. I'm bad, Allie. Bad. Go
I'm trying to find a
references.
reference. Where is it? Maybe I can search for it.
And if you were to animate it and it was supposed to be like one of those like still animations where like only 1 or 2 parts are moving, I would say the tongue, like the thing, but also the bongo hands. Like I feel like she could just stay still, and the dude could just bongo it.
Or she would be rolling her eyes.
Oh yeah, rolling her eyes. That would be good.
All right. Next, then. You got anyone else in the chat that has submitted art today? Has submitted, not is submitted? Although, if you're submitted as art, that's pretty impressive. Not that I see. No. All right, then let's just do it from the top left-hand corner.
All right.
Whoops! Clicking buttons. Made a pony dance on my screen.
Nice.
This one is by Nautilus. Is King. Nautilus is King. Yes.
This is very pretty.
New to Reddit / the subreddit. Here are some of my own favorite art. Criticism is appreciated. So I'm interested, Nautilus. How long ago did you make this picture? Because you said it's some of your favorite art. I'm wondering what's the time or what's the age of it, because maybe it's not a representation of what your newest style is, what your newest hurdles are.
I just noticed the horns. That makes them even cooler.
Now beyond that, let's critique this fun thing.
Yes. I have noticed. I feel like this is the top left one, right?
Yes, the purple.
Yeah, it's super pretty space pony. Let's see if I can get the ear, the same sort of style that you were doing. I feel like the ear could be moved a little bit over because it's like sort of, if we look at where it's connected in the original picture, it's like very, very close to the temple of the eye, and also the horn. I love these horns. I love ponies with horns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, more people do it, please. I remember years ago, I was like, oh, I think ponies with horns are really cool. My friend was like, what? That's weird. They should like
Oh,
put horns. They shouldn't have like goat horns. It's so strange. But like, it looks like it's sort of coming. It's like bending around the ear, which I feel like looks like it'd be a little bit uncomfortable for the ear to move around with. So I would try to. There we go. Dropouts weird to control. I would try to move the ear backwards a little bit. So it's sort of sitting here, and then you can have the horn be like this, and sort of show that it's a little bit further over and separate from the ear. You know, I mean, we've got a lot to squish into the head already. So like ears and then horns and then the mane is a little bit like cramped up, but that just means you've got like a tightly knit design, and it's cool. Just got to make sure that they have space to move. You know, so say if the ear comes down here, then that's cool. The ear has space to flick up, and we're good.
Yeah, because I think I totally agree. Because as is right now, your horn has a very bad tangent with the ear. Because I see, let me get not purple color. That'll be helpful. I see the horn almost being this thin thing, like it's just this thin part. Because the way you have the curve here.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking. But then if you look at this part, it's much thicker.
Yeah.
So it's either that it gets much thicker, or it's just like we're looking at it differently.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like there's a tangent that's
Yeah.
tricking our eye, like that it
Yes,
loses
yes.
the ear.
Exactly.
So there's that. Something else I wanted to ask about. I know you're not here, sadly, but some of the shading seems off to me. Like there's random parts that are darker that don't make sense to me. Like you have a big white highlight on your nose here that's also a darkened part. This is the same kind of darkening that's under your like the chin there, which makes sense to me, absolutely. But and like under the cheek you have some really bright darkness. I guess I'm just kind of like doesn't really feel like there's a symmetry to where the dark is, or if this is a coat pattern and this is like a flat shaded thing with textures on top. I'm not 100% sure. And that's really just a nitpick. Um,
Otherwise, I think it's an incredibly stylistic piece. It's really interesting to look at.
yeah. All right. Anything else?
I'm looking it over. I'm not seeing anything else. Stylized, stamped, call it done. All right, let's move on. What next? Let's go with the green horse under it.
Horsey horse.
This one is done by Compony. Made in Paint Tools Side 2. Used a Rainbow Dash movie style as a reference.
Nice. I love the movie styles as reference.
No.
First of all, I want to say I applaud that you got some fluff in your light and shadow. I know sometimes people don't think to do that. They just kind of make it a smooth line, but adding those little flecks of fluff, I think is a really nice touch.
See, this is a good example of what we sort of often mention about like less is more approach to adding details like fluff. Because lots of people struggle with it, and it sort of take the approach of like, well, once you start drawing fluff, it's got to be everywhere, right? Because it's got to be consistent. So they make the entire line like zigzaggy and hairy and spiky, and it's like it just looks like overkill now. But like this is a good example of how to use, like I sort of show people how to do fluff, just like little bits of fluff in the outline to help it look soft but without overpowering. But this is a completely different approach of using the shading, so it gives our brains that shape, so we're seeing texture on the pony that's not there, but you're implying with your lines, and I think that's a very nice stylistic approach.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that really stands out to me as being a little weird is the positioning of the pupils. Right now, the horse has like the 10,000 yard stare, not even the 1,000 yard. They are looking off into what cannot be seen, only because they aren't focused on anything. Easiest way to get it to focus on something is actually place something for it to focus on. If it's staring at you or off screen, you got hands, you got pencils, you got stuff around you. Hold something up and start imagining how it would be looking towards it. In this case, that would just be a matter of just bringing the pupils in just a little bit. I don't even think we need to. Yeah, all we need to do is shift one, and it's going to bring that focus inwards. And it's going to focus it on basically where my face is sitting right now, which none of you can see except for Fluffy's eye, because he's watching at times.
And secretly in everyone's rooms, ready to steal and then give back people's tablets, pens when they need them.
Such a strange ruse. But I support you.
Being helpful in my own way.
But yeah, I gotta say, a front-facing view I think is one of the hardest ones to pull off, because symmetry, just symmetry. It's killer. Symmetry tools are great. I don't know if SAI2 has one, but if it does, I highly recommend looking up a symmetry tool. It is not cheating. It is a tool that you learn.
Yeah.
Like, please, because like people think it's easy to make a non-thousand-eyed stare with symmetry. It's like, no, you still have to figure out where to position it. It's just a tool there to help you, and it really does help with these front-facing, like very standard front-facing views.
Yep, there's never anything wrong with using the tools at your disposal.
I think I'll just stretch the shadow out just a little. I'm using my pen as the light source, and I'm pointing down and trying to imagine how the shape of that hoof would go. And I think it's just got to be expanded a little bit. You've done a really, really good job of giving good coverage of shadows where they would be sanely. Honestly, it's well done. Little, I think, yeah. So based off the light source being somewhere over here, but up or forward a lot more, just how the light's hitting, maybe slightly up more, like actual up more, like up here. Anyway, based on that light source, I still think we would have a little bit more etching along the side here, just of the light hitting that curve. But yeah, small nitpicks is all I got for that lighting sources.
Another nitpick I have, and I know the show does this, but if you wanted to have a tail that was more appropriate, it wouldn't come off to the side here, because basically it's just shooting out sideways from tail dock. But really, you'd see the tail between her legs, especially since we have all this room, we're seeing straight through her legs. We'd see the tail behind her. And I know it's not as visually cool and you don't get to show off the tail as much, but that's how it would actually be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some things just don't get to be shown off at certain angles.
And that's something to consider, because I know I was actually reading a thing the other day about kind of like what people do, what kind of beginner mistakes, and it's like, oh my gosh, I did used to do that all the time and I still do it. But one of those things is drawing things that don't necessarily need to be seen, because you're like, but they're running, so they need to see the shoe running. It's like, no, you don't necessarily need to see if it's behind a leg. You don't need to force it into view if it's not going to be seen.
Yeah. Or like you draw something and it's like, this is great, and then like you realize it's supposed to be covered up and you're like, what can I do to bend the laws of reality so that this ear can still be visible?
It's important, or else LD might be slightly ticked.
Slightly.
The 2 years. All right,
It's
shall
like
we move
I
on?
always try to, but then if it's like this main is just like, there is no way that it's like showing the other ear, but I want it to be there. I'll do anything possible. But yes, let's do it.
I'm good to move you.
All right,
I'll
we're
move
gonna
whenever my
plug
progress
this
stops
horse. Wait, not lewd.
I assume we meant like advertise their YouTube channel
Yes.
or something.
Speaking of plugging, we got this.
Bad.
The Aggie. You should hop into the Aggie.
Which I am totally not ignoring the critique stream to draw in the Aggie at all.
You totally are, aren't you?
That horse in the bottom left-hand corner is making bedroom eyes at us, guys. I'm just...
Hello. Hello. Oh, well, what's this?
Oh, hey, well.
Adorable stuff going on. Whoop. All right, back to this art. So this one is by Life Song.
I love this. So
Life-
good. I love your
I
style.
love the colors.
Weird. I drew a bit of an OC of an artist I really love. Hiccups does art. Hiccups does art.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Her
Hiccup does art.
horse is
This is
adorable.
an OC of the artist.
Yes,
Yeah.
one of theirs.
Ah.
This took a bit, and I'm happy of how it came out. Just totally searching that artist, and they have
They do really good art. They do fun art.
no good critique. Yes, that is some adorable art. Oh wow! Oh wow!
Oh wow.
The Luna mane. Damn.
Yeah, they do some really fun stuff. I enjoy their style.
Okay, I've seen some of their art before. That's cool. All right. So horse.
Of course.
It looks
So
like you've heavily used references to generate that or make sure that your positioning of the bits that they have around that horse are on yours. It shows things like the little details, like the stitching across the tail wraps and the hair wraps. The
yeah.
fact that it looks sort of like noodles. It's all there. Even the little highlights inside of the ears, because they have like small little bunny ears inside of their ears. Well done.
It's all very good. I mean, just like the like network of like stuff details on like these like computery bits, super good. Like all of it is so much detail, and I love the style. It's got a lot of weight to it. All the shapes like fall into each other really nicely. It's clear how like everything like it's. I mean, assuming this is a robot pony, but it feels like they've got like muscles, just because like the anatomy you've got has that feel of like a character that actually has like a physical anatomical structure of muscles in them. You know, couple small nitpicks. I think the first thing I noticed, and it really is, if you like doing it this way, it's absolutely fine. But the eyes are like almost touching exactly. I just brought the bridge of the nose wider a little bit by just expanding where the bridge falls here and just moving this eye over a little bit as best I could. It was meant to be. I wasn't trying to change that eye. I was just trying to move it over, just so that the pony has a bit of a nose bridge between their eyes, if that makes any sense. But if that's not what you want to go for, then that's absolutely fine. Only other nitpick was the back of the ear. Like I understand the sort of style of ear is that people do, which is super adorable and I love it. But like you've gone to like such a stylized degree with pushing those shapes, which we love people exaggerating pushing shapes, by the way. But the way it fell, if I just turn off the layer I'm drawing on here, that's not the layer.
I believe you.
You can see there's like a tangent going to the back of the head, so it makes it look like their skull comes up and then just like expands out into this lump. But I can see what you're trying to do, because otherwise this ear literally is just an orange like feather on the head. I think what you're trying to do is to show the ears here. So I just like brought that up a little bit, just so it looks like we can see, oh yeah, this is coming into the ear. You can see what's going on here. Just make it look, it's readability, really.
Mm-hmm. I think so something I think I want to, if you would like, I'd like to give you a little challenge, because something I see here is that I feel like you kind of lose confidence in some of these lines. I see very shaky lines and some lines that don't really, they kind of fizzle out, and you can tell you're almost going slow. I have a feeling, and I don't know for sure because you're not here to ask, but some of these lines feel like you're going pretty slow. So I think for practicing next time, practice some really good swooshy lines, because something you can do, especially with digital, is that you can go too far and then you race back what doesn't work out. But you have this nice, strong, powerful line to work with, instead of something like up in this hair here where you kind of have the fizzle and shake, like you're trying to get these precise lines going, or even over here, some of the arm feels a little bumpy. Just like some nice strokes, so it's like boom, one stroke, and if it doesn't work, oh, undo button. And I don't mean that sarcastically, but it's like, remember, you have these tools in digital
Yeah.
art. Do not, you can even take it in two shots where it's like that, and then you're like, okay, then I want the other curve, and then I finish the round out. erase, and you get those really nice strong lines that like make it solid. And same, like you can even get some more flow in the hair if you just, let yourself swoosh. Especially with hair that you need to show a lot of detailed lines with, just let yourself swoosh. You will not regret having those nice lines.
Yeah, it's part of lining is definitely being able to do those like confident strokes. It definitely takes getting used to,
Mm-hmm.
but it's worth developing that. Like part of it is muscle memory, part of it is just understanding, part of it's skill. It definitely helps just practicing, getting used to it.
Mm-hmm. You could even just sit there and like, I know a practice I've seen is you just try to draw a line next to each other, and you try to follow that line, like kind of hatching it. You can even go, through it back again and trying to keep it. If it's a curve you're trying to work on or straights you're trying to work on, just different ways to practice that swoosh. You can even do S curves and like trying to get the curves in the curves, and it's like you're learning to control but still keep that thing. There's so many exercises. If you even Google like line dynamics, there's a thing I shared in the Discord server, but I'm trying to see if I can find the artist. Come on, computer, slow now. Niso, NSIO. The artist is on DeviantArt. Again, NSIO. And Google that name, DeviantArt, and line dynamics, and something will pop up, and it'll have like a little write up and pictures of like how to make your lines more varied and interesting. But also at the bottom, it has exercises. They're really great. Just mindless exercises that really do help you get a more fluid and confident line.
All right. Do we want to move on to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Let's go to the rarity. Rarity.
Okay, first and foremost, I just want to applaud them on that lattice work because I had to do that like for my scenic painting class, and that's just hard. But like you did it good, you did it right. You have like shadows in all the right places, so it looks very nice. The lattice work, that's my favorite part.
So this is by inexperienced __ 128. You might remember them last week being the person who's like, "Hey, my parents said I can't draw a horse anymore."
Oh,
They're drawing horse.
Oh, nice.
It's called artist
be a
parkour.
horse rebel.
So, jump styles the same way I jumped the 10th grade. Right? Found a way to epically cheese ponies' hips by putting a dress over them. That's a great way to cheat. No.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed making the backgrounds on this, but when will I ever make a post you can draw over... But when will I ever make a post you can draw over my drawings? Who knows? My parents don't care anymore about me and my obsession. I only draw ponies once every 2 weeks. I draw other stuff too. I assume furry stuff. Because that only seems like the logical answer here of just really bugging the parents.
Yeah, it's got to
There's
be.
nothing wrong with drawing cute animals. Parents, get over yourself.
They just want me to get A's in all my classes. I mean, that's
I mean, that's
fair.
every parent, but that and drawing ponies are not mutually exclusive.
They'll always love
furries.
me, and everything is settled. Aww. I should draw them a
That's a
pony.
very nice. Yeah.
I have
It's
the
a
warm
very,
and
very
fuzzies.
pony spirit lesson here.
So watercolor, all split up with a 0 for one of the O's. How did I do? Would you buy it for $5? Yeah, how do you make people want to buy your work? I need a job. I don't fancy being a lifeguard or fry cook. Well, lifeguards get paid pretty well, at least in my area. I mean, it's
Look at the
just like
babes.
slightly above minimum wage. Yeah, anyway, watercolor. How did we do? And would we buy it for $5? I mean, if I was commissioning this would be worth more than $10. There is paint on the sheet that is worth more than $10.
It's beautiful lattice work.
If you were able to pump this out in 5 minutes, Yeah, I'll throw you a tenner. Why not? $5? I expect
It's definitely worth it.
like I would expect a sketch at the best for $5, and that'd be a quick sketch.
As for like selling it like as a print, I mean, usually a lot of prints you see at cons are very like polished, very like graphically neat and pristine sort of things. But you see lots of other different sorts of styles. Some are very painterly, but you can see all sorts of different things in print. So it just depends what sort of thing you wanna be presenting to people. And the best thing you can do is just market testing. Just like put it out there with a price. If it's like throw it out there, and if it's too expensive, reel it back. If people are saying, "Oh yeah, it's cheap," make it more expensive. And you can test it. Customers decide the price of things
Well, to an extent, there are
to an
people who
extent.
just want to pay $1 for whatever they want. And they don't really
Yeah. Oh yeah,
go into
definitely.
those people.
But there are lots of people who will be a lot more honest about the actual value of things and how much they think things should be worth. Particularly in this sort of community, you find lots of people who are just like, yeah, charge more for your commissions.
And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and don't take me as a Debbie Downer, please. I just want to say this as just to keep you a little level here. Starting to sell art will take a while. There's a lot you have to consider marketing wise, running yourself as a business wise, as well as just considering a following, building a following that'll want to buy art from you, and finding where you can sell art. You won't just post it and people suddenly start buying. There's a lot you
It's
need to
true.
do besides just drawing and putting it up for
Yeah,
sale.
having an art presence is an important thing, and it does take a while to build up, but it's not something really to be frightened of.
No.
It just takes some patience and some doing.
I just want to say it as a PSA because I see people like, well, nobody wants to buy my art. It's, well, you just
Yeah.
started, there's
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
think going straight into wanting to sell art right from the get go is already like jumping the gun a bit. I think for the most part, I mean, certainly for me, like I don't know, maybe it's just personal bias, but like I spent years and years and years practicing and getting better and like just drawing for myself long before I started doing any commissions. And when I did start doing commissions, they were really cheap and really simple, and I didn't really have like an audience. I just like found some people who wanted to buy who wanted commissions from me, cheap ones. But as I have developed my skill, I've developed my portfolio and my prices and everything. It all goes up. It all starts at ground zero and just develops as you do. So the sooner you start getting out there and start practicing, the better you will be doing. You just got to rely on the fact that, like, imagine it like an RPG, right? You will be going up in level, and that means everything, not just your art skill.
So I guess I'll end with saying this. Do not put the worth of yourself and your art on the fact that people will not buy much right away.
Right. Yes.
That's just how it is getting into the business. So just trust me, you can do it. Try it. Just don't take anything personally.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 sec. I appear to be. Oh god. Oh god.
Oh no.
The stream.
Oh no. Ah.
Okay, we're good. We're good again.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah,
Right.
I highlight. There's never a wrong time to start commissions. The right time to start commissions is whenever you want to start commissions. That's
Yes.
literally all it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Anything else? I say you're doing really good. I think you're off to a good start. I love your rendering in this. This is a nice watercolor feel. Keep up the sketching. I don't know how much you sketch, but sketch. Do all the sketches. Sketch.
We love our sketching here.
Sketch.
We are sketchy horses.
Sketching like stuff helps you learn anatomy, getting references and sketching those references. Like, because one of the things you'll learn over time is just sketching to learn anatomy. Then you can build onto that anatomy with all your cool shading and textures, and it's like you gotta have a good cake to put icing on.
Yeah.
I want cake.
Yeah, I do too.
Now Ali has made the stream hungry.
Oh no.
Alright, let's.
Actually bought some tasty treats today.
Yeah.
Are you gonna share with the rest of the class?
Yeah, just let me throw them across the world to Canada.
What about me?
Well, you'll be easier to get to. You'll be slightly closer.
Not by much.
Not by much, but it's slightly easier.
Like, maybe 300 or 400 kilometers. I mean, it's still a hell of a throw, but really, once you've
Yeah.
already passed 1,000, so
exactly when you're throwing that far, what's another couple hundred?
All right, so this one is by MyDino2236, and it's Quiro, My Persona.
Is this the purpley fairy looking thing?
Yeah, it's the changeling.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I love the colors. They have a very nice balance to them. I wonder what's going on here though. The background is very abstract.
It makes me think of something under a microscope.
Definitely.
Yeah, it does. I was just thinking something like that.
It's not a distracting background. It's just
No.
bizarre.
I'm wondering how it affects the values though, like how the pony plays with it.
Can you just eat the icing and shit the cake? No! CPC, are you a monster?
What does CPC suggest?
She's gonna eat all the
Can
icing
I
on the
eat
cake.
icing and skip the cake? No, CPC, it balances. Like, too much cake, sure, it takes away. But if you just eat the icing, it's just, like, sickening. You gotta have a little bit of cake there.
Alright, we've been derailed by junk food. Alright, let's do this pitching. Let's do this. We got this.
Delicious.
Okay, do they have any specific questions?
No, they don't. Remember,
Okay.
folks, ask questions. We
Yes,
like
please.
pointed questions, because pointed questions we can answer easily and know what you're looking for.
Maybe we can add a requirement to get on the stream. There needs to be questions.
Ooh.
Then we're never going to have any art to critique.
Well, people better learn fast.
See, this doesn't follow normal wing rules because they're like insect wings. So I want to do that lovely, sexy, but like down and up wing arm shape. But I think they're like a carapace, and then there's like a wing out from that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think in the show they're like fairy wings, they're like these little insect wings. But you've done them more like feathery looking.
Yeah, I interpret this as like it's an insect base, but the like the see-through parts are more like feather inspired. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of a combination of the both.
Yeah. I actually studied bee wings when I was drawing a bee anime girl. It's a character from a game, but yeah, it's from a pixel art game. So you can imagine how much I had to deconstruct, and part of that was referencing and research. But yeah, so I can't really say like much with the wings because they're so unique. I can see like you've got some lovely like transparency going, so I can see where like the back wings are compared to the front wings. So I love your transparency there.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe you could have this back wing be a little bit more spread out this way, and potentially even have the front wing spread even more this way. Just give them some distance, you know?
Yeah, because they're coming out like I guess their backs are kind of like roundish, so they'll come out at angles instead of just straight
Yeah.
back, right?
Especially this back one, because it's actually, if you look at it, it's actually going further. It's actually much longer
Mm-hmm.
because it's at this. It's starting like over here. If you see this where I've drawn the base of this wing, this one is starting like over here on the other opposing shoulder, and it's stretching all the way up here. So it actually should be ending like here-ish. So it is a difficult thing looking at things in 3D space, but like if you get used to it, then it just becomes like second nature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering what they used to draw with, because like I see no tapering on the lines at all. Like they're just exact single width lines, and it's you've done them pretty well. Like they look very confident. I don't know if you use like a it doesn't look like you use a tool, because I do see some natural essences
Little ticks
in,
at the end.
yeah, and not even that, but just like there's like parts like this we can see clearly isn't like a curved tool. Like just some parts of the lines look natural, but there's just like the little ticks at the end and stuff, but it's just like, all like a single width line. If you don't have a graphics tablet, that's absolutely fine. You don't need one to draw on. I think you're doing a really good job making do of not. But if you do have a graphics tablet, then there are all kinds of programs out there you can use that are really good for doing tablet drawing with. I know if you're using GIMP, that's like a little bit iffy with tablets and doesn't work the best. Photoshop, I don't think is that great with tablet usage either. It's more for photo editing than for drawing.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like Clip Studio, even like Krita, stuff like that, like they're all pretty good for tablet use. So I mean, if you do have one, then by all means try to set up with some pressure sensitivity, because it can really help your sketching and your lining and everything.
Yeah, if you're looking for free, Krita's pretty much the best as far as free goes, just for
Mm-hmm.
tossing
Yeah,
yourself at it. It might be a little daunting because it is a kind of
yeah,
large program, but it's not the worst.
takes a learning curve, I think.
You been enjoying the Tuffy Lime?
Yeah, I know quite a few people in our chat use it. The only problems I always hear about are the RAM usage, so that's one thing to be wary of. Otherwise, it has a comprehensive program. It has so many brushes.
Yeah, it has a lot of really cool tools. I'm not a huge fan of using it, but the reasons why I did use it a lot was specifically because it has some really unique and fun things to play with. But I feel like the tools, especially around the brushes and everything, I come from Clip Studio, and Clip Studio is like extremely streamlined. Like everything, like it gives you a lot of control and customizability, but like everything is really easy to find and understand. So like I moved there from GIMP. I used to use GIMP, and I used like line tools and stuff. And I moved to Clip Studio, or Mank Studio 5 at the time. And then I was like, this is really cool. And I spent years getting used to that. And anytime I tried to use any other program since, I'm like, no, I am so ingrained to Clip Studio Paint. I can't, like, but Krita, especially of all of them, was like, I just can't figure out where the brushes are and like because it's got a really unique way of handling, like, it's got like a special like tool menu pop up thing you can bring up. And it's got like it's like a wheel, and you got like tools around there. I'm sure once you get used to that, it's like extremely intuitive. But for me, it was like a lot to try and wrap my head around. And there's like the brushes panel. I couldn't just like pick up like a G pen like I had in Clip Studio. I had to like find it. But like I think if you set it up properly, you get the controls working the way you want them, learn where everything is, and I'm sure it could be a really good program, especially because it is free. It has some really neat features.
I mean, otherwise, really, all I have to say is keep drawing, keep sketching.
Yeah.
So this is really fun. I love the colors. Keep drawing your OCs. If you have fun drawing your OCs, draw your OCs.
Yeah. I appreciate people creating interesting and unique takes on the species, like not always following the exact rules. And I always hate it when people sort of shoot down those ideas, like, oh, you're weird unique race, or oh no, the changelings look like this, or it's like, let people be creative. I always appreciate people having OCs that sort of break the norm a little bit.
Real, fight the power. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got soap.
Soap.
Where is it? This is by TM. You know what? I think someone just rolled their head on the keyboard there. I don't know what that's saying.
Is this pony thirsty, or does she have soap in her mouth?
Maybe.
Or is she not a soap element creature?
I did a collab with a friend, redraw my drawing, and this was my part. What do you think? They have no other comments past that.
That tail will be hard to live with. That needs some reeling back. Like, can you imagine having like you've deliberately had it like shown her like floating in a bubble? I assume that's what's happening, and the tail going off into space. Like, who knows even how far this tail goes beyond the canvas? It could just come back up, second wind. Here we go. Oh, there's more. Oh, and it just keeps going. It's just, we've got a Rapunzel tail over here.
It's an infinite soap dispenser.
Yes. Her tail is the soap. It just comes out. Okay. I was literally thinking earlier about how when our string goes on long enough, we just get into the sillies, and that's beginning.
It's now. We've hit it. So, the one thing, and I'm just gonna hit on it right off the bat. Don't use the little stringy texture brushes to do hair, please. Please don't. The spaghetti hair.
And why shouldn't we, Allie?
Is just so. If you look at hair, right? When you look at hair, you don't see every individual strand ever in hair, right? You look at a person, you do not see each little, or else, I mean, maybe you could, but you don't. You see it in clumps, you see it working together, and you see these individual strands come out in highlights. And that's like very select highlights. There'll be little pops of them that shine because hair is reflective. it picks up and bounces that light right off. You can have really shiny hair, or you can have not so shiny hair. Depends. But the all these little lines, they mean nothing. I love what you started. The first these big deep shadows you have going on. All these guys, like I'm just kind of like trying to circle like
Yeah.
these guys right here. You are on the right track going from there. Pretty much all you had to do next was first you have your big clumps, and then maybe separate those big clumps into one more set of smaller clumps. They don't have to be uniform or unison. Just kind of pulling out those clumps in the hair. Let me see if I can color pick.
Yeah, and because it like creates such a contrast between where you've got the like MLP style like color changes in the hair, drawing blue on blue is great. And having so we see that, but like that's the MLP style shows way of the style. In that style, it's their way of showing how a mane has like different parts intersecting and has colors to those parts. But like having that and then having the strands completely disobeying the direction that those are moving. Like if this was real, like if we take fur as an example on like animals, because like we have a lot of animals in real life that have patterns on their fur, and so like we have fur textures, and then the patterns will actually be, if I like do some coloring here, so we have like a spot or something, the patterns will be part of the fur. It won't just be like clasped over the fur, it'll be part of it. So it's like, oh, we have this furry texture here, and it's making a spot because that's the way it's like the hairs themselves are dyed. So if we can see the hairs and then we see a color completely ignoring them, then it kind of feels a bit weird. It feels like it's just sort of laid on top and as like an optical illusion, because it's totally combining like a very simplistic style with a like way too complex detail style. Well, Ali's doing some sketching and drawing there. I wasn't sure if this pony was supposed to be floating in a soap bubble or if she's just like standing and a soap bubble has formed around her, in which case I don't know where she's standing that her tail can just disappear through the floor. But if she is floating, firstly, like her hooves will be popping the bubble, and secondly, she looks like she's standing on the ground. If she is standing on the ground, that's absolutely fine. But maybe we could see that ground and see where she is standing, and maybe have her tail sort of like looped. I need to pick a different color. Okay, have her tail sort of like looped on the ground, like, oh look, here we go. We can see that the tail is finding a place to rest. Maybe even not there, maybe even directly behind her. Because I sort of drawn it off to the side here, but there we go. This is a very long tail. It should probably like this pony's probably very uncomfortable. If that's just the OC, then that's fine. But she's got some high shampoo budget. Or maybe she doesn't need it. Maybe she is a soap elemental. Anyway, so I just in case she is meant to be like floating in a void, I've drawn this like thing over here showing like, oh, this is a good example of thumbnailing as well. Just quick little doodle off the side. Here's a bubble. Here's the pony floating in that. I hope you can understand like the pose. Like here's the legs. There's one back leg. There's another back leg, and the front legs too. Just as an idea to understand. So here's the wing and everything. So we can say, hey, cool. I can see where this pony is now, and it's a way of breaking down how the sketch is going to be positioned so that we don't end up with the bubble not encompassing the entire pony. And it's an example of a possible pose showing a pony being all floaty. Floating in the bubble, no gravity. Oh, and if you did that, you could even have like the tail, sort of like staying like within the bubble and just sort of like floating around. This is really, I'm not insinuating this is the shape you should be using. I'm just like trying to sketch it around, but like floating in the bubbles, we've got this like really floofy tail, sort of like all captured up in this bubble essence. The mane as well. Floofy floof. All floating in the bubble. That's just an idea. If they are supposed to be standing, then that's great. But I'm not sure where she is or what's happening.
All right. Ooh, really like Allie's additions. Now, we should mention what Allie is doing doesn't have to be your direction in this. If your final direction is, yes, I do really like spaghetti brush, then go to town on spaghetti brush. You be your own captain. We're just giving this suggestion as we've seen a whole lot of art in our time, and generally based on the reaction from most people, the Allie's approach to doing this sort of thing is gets a better response, and it looks better from us too, like on our side.
From my point of view.
Yeah, it's it also helps. The reason why we point it this way, because it also helps, is like something we often say is less is more, and you're already drawing a very simplistic. You're basically drawing a simplified horse right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not even going into the details of the horse that deep, so why should the hair be that much more detailed? Now, I'm not saying never use a spaghetti brush ever, because honestly, you can use that to get some really nice textures, maybe using it as an overlay layer and using it sparingly, not covering the whole hair with it. But
Yeah.
you can get some really nice, texture out of that. So don't mark it just because I know I came in kind of hard and was just like, "Oh no, don't use it." But like using it as your only texture for the hair
Yeah.
when your horse has no texture whatsoever and it's very simplified, it's kind of off balance, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you go far enough back in my DeviantArt, you will see some pictures
Oh,
of like
same.
raccoon's eye with the same like fur texture brush that I like actually did like a tutorial and like had like a noise filter and then blended that with a blur tool so that like to like push it in a direction so it's even less coherent than this, but it like really muddy looking. And even at the time I was like, this looks wrong. This looks like it's too much, but like it's got to be there, right? Because like once I do like a little bit, I got to cover the whole picture, and like he's got to be fluffy, and like this is the only way I can think of to show that. But you know, fluff takes time to learn. There are other ways.
Just keep experimenting. Everything takes time to learn, but we learn by experimenting and doing different things, stuff we
Yeah.
wouldn't think to do, stuff that maybe even people said not to do. And maybe we'll learn from something either that, oh, maybe they were right, or maybe it's like, oh, I see, like, oh, I did what they said not to, but I also discovered this other way of doing something. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
art is weird.
Art does what art wants.
All right. Anyone else have any art they'd like to submit? Any other questions they'd like to ask? Feel free to do it now. Otherwise, we'll be calling it a day.
We are always open to try to answer any questions you got, even if you don't have art to submit.
And remember to give some critiques on the MLPDS subreddit.
Yeah.
Even if you're just there to get critique yourself, just like, and by all means, we probably get a lot of people thinking that, oh, but I'm not a super great artist. That you don't have to be. You just have to have the willingness to help others, because everyone can see, and just give your opinion nicely and fairly
Yes.
as to what you think someone could do to improve, because that's really what we're doing. It's like, I think that this might look nice, I think that you could improve if you try this. It's like, we can't improve for you. Like, we can improve ourselves, but we can't improve you, and we can't tell you what to do. It's up to each person to improve. And so, we don't have the authority to change people's art. We're not art gods, so it doesn't matter if you're not either. You can go and you can
We're
say,
still
"Hey."
learning ourselves, like,
Yeah, exactly.
but we critique to help us learn. Like, we're helping you guys, and we get to clean up the subreddit a bit. Which, still, please critique. We are not the reason to not critique.
It's the best reason for us to not have any work to do on Tuesdays.
Yes.
If we don't have anything to do, it means people have, assuming people have actually been posting art for critique, it means that people have been also being super great people and helpful and helping others learn.
It means the community's doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Help each other.
We're just like the pick up the excess with a follow up. With the scraps disposal.
All right, and with that, we're going to be calling it a day. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye now.